I've given a workshop in Poland before, but that was with astrologers. This is the first time I'm actually presenting astrology to an audience that is coming from the ground up. So I'd like to just get a feel, how many of you have actually had interaction with astrology, not just with magazines? Okay, how many of you have had a reading done?
I'm an astrologer.
Oh,
So.
there you go.
Many years ago.
Yeah.
Many years ago.
Okay. How many of you have had just electronic reports then? Yeah, actually had real live sessions. And how often do you update yourself with that?
It's on my bucket list, does that count?
I worked with someone who was studying astrology once, so she filled me in a little bit, but that's why I'm uncomfortable.
Right, okay. So, I mean, everyone just basically wants to know what is astrology and why is Theo giving a talk and why do I need to care to listen? Where do I see myself in astrology? And the topic of this talk, thanks, is astrology for today. And I mean that in two ways. The first is we live in a modern world with a lot of issues that, yes, you may argue we evolved as a human species or not in some respects, but everyday issues to do with today. You know, the kids as they go to school, they have problems with studies, they have problems with their peer groups. I have problems in my workplace, people I work with, my relationships, our marriage. These are real life questions that people ask every day. And for me, where I was coming from in astrology back in 2010 was asking some of those same questions and tired of hearing the same sit down and dream and it will happen kind of answers. Coming from an engineering background, that's all I knew. And astrology really opened my eyes to a different dimension of reality that is, in some sense, more real, because it's more connected to everything. The other sense that I want to get from astrology for today is how can you apply astrology every day? It's not just the one-time reading I get from someone or the sun sign columns I read on a monthly basis or a weekly basis, but understanding yourself every day, how to empower yourself to not just take many decisions, but how to specify those decisions in your decision-making process. Even as a business entrepreneur, business owner, we have astrology for business to understand the cycles that happen financially and with people. So the questions I'm going to go through are really quickly examples before we get to some juicy stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to get you the juicy stuff.
What is astrology? How does astrology work? And how is it relevant to me? I think those are questions that need to be cleared up before we can actually go further. So, first, what is astrology? Now, this is not what astrology is. Okay. But I want you to imagine, this is a rainforest picture of part of the rainforest. And I want you to actually imagine yourself standing in that rainforest. And you can hear all the crickets and the bugs and birds and frogs and crickets and all the smells. And everything that you see, and you connect it to them. You understand that there are cultures and whole tribes of people. Before a lot of science was done with understanding the rainforest system, we relied, or those pioneers in scientific inquiry, relied a lot on the local people's knowledge. Because we know, anthropologically, that those cultures are connected with the space they're living in. They have a long-standing history of understanding, okay, well, if the anteater is running away that way, and there's a storm coming, I know that lightning is going to strike here. There's no direct correlation between where the lightning strikes and the anteater knowing that. But it's you observing that pattern happen within the system that allows you to then say, okay, I know it's coming. I'm going to follow in the anteater direction. If I'm far away from my village, I'm going to a place of safety. So everything in the ecosystem, as one example of a living organic entity on its own, there are patterns and intelligence. There are patterns that emerge out of that you can recognize, such as the anteater running away, those kind of things, through observation. And there's also the intelligence of the system and everything that lives and breathes within that system that are connected to everything in the system, interrelationships between the frogs and the birds and the plant life. It's so complex that you can't scientifically predict one-to-one cause-effect in a linear manner what's going to happen. So biologists over time have realized that they need to understand the patterns that emerge out of the intelligence within the system and everything that lives within it. And by doing that and understanding, keeping track of those patterns, we can predict what happens to that system. Anything that happens to the rainforest affects everything in the rainforest. Whether it's a storm, or man, or a fire, it filters down from the big level of the system to everything that's in that system and contributes to that system. So, if you think about the Earth, there are many things that happen within our solar system that affect our planet. Now you're moving out of the rainforest system, next slide, to a system that is our planet, that we are all in. There are so many interrelationships with this living organic system. That's a solar eclipse taken from the NASA, from the International Space Station, with a shadow cast of the Earth. And it has relevance in astrology because astrology is all about what I see outside is reflected in it. And that same understanding that whatever affects the system I'm breathing, living in, that I'm connected in, I contribute in some way, and it also affects it. Next slide. So we have to understand anything that happens to the planet affects all of us. And that's something we know, intellectually maybe. But how do you know it personally in your life? And that's what astrology is. This is one example of self-similarity that happens in chaos theory and mathematics. He's basically saying that he's calling it a constructive law that tears down the walls that separate disciplines in science by providing a new understanding of what it means to be alive. Life is movement and the constant morphing of the design of this movement. To be alive is to keep on flowing and morphing or changing or transforming. When a system stops flowing and transforming, it is dead. Thus, river basins configure and reconfigure themselves to persist in time. When they stop flowing and morphing, they become dry riverbeds. And that so-called the entity of the river system doesn't exist anymore. There's nothing flowing, there's nothing responsive happening. The self-similarity part is that you can see it looks the same. The design is the same. Flowing of energy out and in, flowing of energy out and in. So it's this level of intelligence that's present on a huge scale, but also physically in your body. This is the intelligence of the system that is talked about as above, so below. This is what we talk about, even on the physical level. But it also is very relevant energetically because the mass follows the energy. Okay. So astrology is putting the Earth within its system of light, with the sun being the seat of consciousness and light for our galaxy. And these visible planets reflect that light in different qualities. And we, through astrology, are aiming to understand the relevance of that from our perspective, where we are here. We don't live on the sun, we live on Earth. The sun is the center of the solar system because it's the seat of consciousness for our solar system. How we absorb and reflect and our receptivity to that light is our particular planetary vibration. So, with astrology being a map of the planets, because everything is connected, now from the rainforest I've gone to the solar system. Okay. Understanding the patterns with that shows me the patterns all the way down to the individual, to countries, to nations, to corporations, to businesses. That is what astrology is. It's a pattern, it's a blueprint of energy and life. It's a language of life, it's highly complex, symbolic language of life. It isn't life, because we have to live that. There's a certain level of free will involved. But in astrology, for me as an astrologer, it gives me the pattern and the potential to talk to someone, whether it's to their health, spiritual life, and their aspirations, their career, their business, their money. All of these partake of the same patterns and cycles that are fulfilling them. So we talk about astrology. Beyond this is the first sphere where the will of God is set. And then that moves, and then everything moves underneath it to where we are now. And the medium for that is love. How does astrology work? It's fine. Anyone been to the doctor recently? I'm sure there may be people that are sick. Family members that are sick. But if you've ever been to the doctor, the first thing that happens, it's a consultation. Astrology is not a crystal ball thing. There is a science part to it, but there's also a part that comes to it. It comes with skill and a certain level of intuitive capability. But it's not psychic. It's not pure divination. It's a mix. So we have to understand the correlations that are happening, the patterns that are moving, and how that reflects in life. So astrology is a consultation the same way as you go to a medical consultation with the doctor. Coming in, the first thing he does is he checks your symptoms. Breathe in, breathe out, knock your knee, turn it up in your eye, all those things to understand the context of your health. The same thing happens in astrology. When you come to a session with me, I ask you questions based on the chart to test and see what is the condition of your consciousness or your awareness right now in the context of living. Without the context, there's no astrology. It's all meaningless. You know, if you don't know where you're standing on now, past and the future doesn't really matter. Okay? Because it's all made in the moment. So that's the first thing that happens. The second thing, in the same slide, is that it's asking you, what's your medical history? Is there a history of cancer in the family, and diabetes, and eye problems, and liver failure, and blah, blah, blah. Because they had their own mind statistics and correlations that follow that say, well, if there's a history of it, then it's most likely to happen in the present body. It's carried in the genes, etc. And there are triggers for it. Similarly, it's the exact same with astrology. I turn the chart back and look at how you handled energy before. That's your history lens. How you made decisions before. It's the same trigger, it's the same pattern. But you have the choice to manifest it in various ways. So I want to understand how have you as an individual applied yourself in manifesting that in the past. And I'll say specific things like in this year when you were traveling here, blah, 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 this happened in the house. You say, oh yes, fire broke out and my dog died, and when I said it happened again 3 years later. Did anything change? No. But for that person, in their mind, what happens is that aha moment where they say, oh, it's an experience that is a cycle. It's not a once-off lesson that I have to learn, and then it's over and done, tick on the karma checklist. It's more the cycle repeats. And how you get opportunities to reconnect to that, to re-evaluate how you want to manifest it. So with the astrology, then I have your current context, I have your history lens, and then we talk about the future. That's the only time I can do predictive work with any amount of accuracy and relevance to where you are right now. And that's how astrology works. There's nothing airy-fairy about it. Okay. How is it relevant to me?
So it's what? It's
Why is it relevant?
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I just want to say that the wrong one. So it's current context plus history, then we can do future.
With confidence. So I do anything like where you're coming from and what's your current condition. You know, I can't predict someone's going to be winning there. Some charts can show that the quality of life is very strong. But if someone's born into poverty, that chart will indicate this person's going to rise out of it very quickly. But if someone's born in like a billionaire family, that chart indicates someone is going to maybe be a pioneer in their family business. the same pattern, but the context changes how it goes. So how is astrology relevant to me? I thought this picture encompasses life. From the beginning, all the ups and downs. And you imagine you're walking this path and what are your hopes, what are your dreams, your aspirations, your needs, your wants. I'm at an age where, maybe I want that, or maybe some people want that. Maybe people are tired of having that, for example. But you talk about how these things progress both with time and space, wherever I am on the planet. Because your awareness, your consciousness, is present in a moment of time and space. And astrology is a map of that. You as an individual change over time. You interact with different people in different ways. And astrology is a map of that. You can look at two people's chart and see how the energy overlaps. And there are some problem areas and there are some really nice areas when they overlap each other. And that's what we talk about when we do relationship astrology. You talk to the clients and you're like, oh yes, he always does that. But now you understand why. Where that person is coming from, even in a way that person can't voice and express properly. I'm actually giving them the tools and the vocabulary to actually speak their truth in that way. Any questions before we go into some examples? What is astrology? How does it work? And how is it relevant to me? I think some of the relevance will come with the examples. But if you have any questions about astrology, ask.
I have a question.
Yeah.
In terms of reading the weekly thing in the newspaper, I just find it far too generic. How does that work?
With the weekly things in the newspaper, it's mostly tracking the transits of the moon. On a monthly basis, the moon and the sun. So it applies to everyone that's born in that sign, but very generally. So even the monthly horoscopes, they're not meant to be precise. Because the astrology, the mechanics behind it, the techniques are not precise. It's just that. So they are what they are because that's all they can be. There are some ways to make it more specific, and you'll see a lot of that. People talk about decans, people talk about narrowing the range down. But that's great, if that brings relevance to you in your life. But it's not, it is real astrology because the techniques are real, but it's not specific. The relevance comes from not just having the astrology done for you, but you actually engaging with it yourself every day. Look at my chart, what's happening today? Okay, the moon is in this sign, that means what? Is that happening around me? Is that the way I'm feeling? Is that the type of interactions we're having with people? Because the moon in astrology governs how we connect with our spirits, with our hearts. Okay, so, did I answer your question?
Yes.
I have a tendency to...
No. Right from the get-go.
Are we all used to that?
That stars foretell, in a way, gives astrology a bad name.
Yeah.
Because people say it's not scientific, it's, it gives it really a bad name, so they kind of dismiss it, it's rubbish.
Right.
But they don't really know what it is, and I always say, how much have you studied it? Before you trash it, how much have you studied it? And very few people have, because that stars foretell.
I think the magazine ones give astrology a bad name.
All of them do, as far as I'm concerned, because I don't know it's new. So.
My nephew studies journalism in the UK, and he's a journalism lecturer, was helping do the forecast of the magazine for the week. But he's a writer, so there was wasn't much sitting down and somebody looking at charts, so the magazine ones.
There's a lot of...
I think that gives astrology a bad name.
There's a lot of fluff out there. For
yes,
sure.
exactly.
And somehow I prefer that because some of this information can be used in the wrong way. So people that come to real astrology, they need it. The other thing I wanted to say was magazines, you mentioned. Okay, we'll come back to that. That's one. So the first example is about wealth, and This is what a chart looks like, if anybody wants to know. This is the chart of Donald Trump. Due to his recent demands on Barack Obama to get his goods, we've also got his own birth certificate. So that's karma. So Donald Trump, Leo rising, just made it. But anyway, I'm not going to talk a lot about the astrology. I'm going to just point to things in the chart and say what it is. I want you to focus on what is that symbol. I don't know what that is, what it's talking about. Focus on what I'm saying, understand the concepts behind it. Okay? So then you can understand where I'm coming from. Because there's a language that you won't understand, but I'm trying to translate it into English. Okay? So we're looking at wealth in someone's chart, or anything in someone's chart. We're looking for, there are things that signify that. There'll be houses, there'll be rulers of houses, there will be planets, there'll be mathematical points that have some description to say something about the topic we're investigating. So I will look at all of that in the natal chart, the birth chart, as the blueprint for life. Okay? What is the condition of those indicators? What is the quality of them? Are they strong? Are they weak? Are they afflicted? Are they afflicted by what? And by how much? Because whenever you tell someone bad news, how bad is it? Who is it bad for? When is it going to go away? When you tell someone good news, they never question you. So we find it very difficult to believe the good sometimes and accept it for what it is. But when it comes to the bad, people really put them in the deep place. Okay? Which is our natural way, because it's a safety thing, it's a survival. So then what I do is I look in time. How are those indicators, conditions changing? Are they becoming worse? Are they becoming better? Are they becoming stronger? Because that's whatever we are looking at, for example, his wealth, that's when his wealth will be better or worse or stronger. It's as simple as that, right? That's the concept. Anything in astrology. The rest is just technique, which you learn and you practice over and over and over again. Right? Okay, so the next. So, for example, he's born at a full moon time. People that are born at full moon, new moon, or the quarter-lunar phases, this particular point is called the part of fortune. It's a mathematical point that's coming from Persian calculations. It's very strong in those people's charts. And if this indicator is strong, it gives testimony to say this person knows how to deal with matter. Matter just comes to them. Okay? It's there. It's like if you're going down a stream and hit a rock. You don't necessarily direct yourself into the rock, but it's there. So if this indicator is strong in someone's chart, it just means that they bump into a lot of things along the way without them having to ask.
Without this?
Okay, it's a substance. It's like accumulation of matter. So that's strong, which means, okay, the tendency to accumulate substance and material gain and fortune is great, and it's in the place of relationships and heart and work with other people. So talk about his business, work, empire. It's very strong. Another indicator, yes, okay, yeah, next one. This is just from the birth chart, okay? I'm not going to go into the whole, but just to give you an idea of what we're looking at. See, there's no airy-fairy. I'm pointing and I'm saying. I'm pointing and I'm saying. As an astrologer, I have to say, everything I have to say must come from the astrology. Because otherwise, I will be wrong. That's just how it is. It's the person's life, I have to respect that. I'm just the translator for that person. So, the fourth house has to do with our property and the things we own that are immovable. Okay, besides like our buried treasure, those kind of things. And the ruler of the fourth house of Scorpio is Mars, who is on his very personal point ascendant. This represents his mind, how you think, your talents, your special abilities. He has a natural ability to think and fight and go after and acquire property.
Interesting.
Okay. Next one.
I keep on changing the slides and they all look the same, and I think, have I changed this slide?
This one, the second house, has to do with your money. Okay? The assets that are movable. right? We just call it money for the sake of simplicity. The opposite house is other people's money. Okay? So personally, it's your debt. Okay, what takes money from you. Your ability to provide for you is taken up by other people. Right? So the ruler of this, Pisces, is the planet Jupiter. And that planet is sitting in his house of money.
Wow.
So other people's money come to him very easily.
It's amazing.
Okay?
Yeah.
And the planet is Jupiter, which is the planet of expansion and big.
Yes.
Yes.
So you're saying he's not that clever, his stars are just nicely aligned.
Well, that's only part of it, you know.
This is just his
There's
wealth.
Yeah, this is well. Personality type is a whole
Don't forget he lost a lot as well.
Yes,
So
several
it's
times.
coming. Several times.
So that's why we'll see on time how these, if there's a year where Jupiter, for example, is not very strong, it's hurt and afflicted. See, don't be so risky to say with your money, do just like maintain what you've got and be happy with that. But doing the temperament analysis of a person will say, are they likely to follow that advice or not?
Yes.
That's where the difference comes in. But in addition to other people's money coming to him, the planet Jupiter itself is something called stationary, which means in the heavens, from the perspective of Earth, you know, it's not really moving on, but from the perspective of Earth, it's kind of slowing down. So if someone's coming into your face and they're not going anywhere, you know, it's like here, I'm here, take me, I'm not going anywhere. So it's very strong in this chart. In addition to being Jupiter being a planet that's naturally signifying wealth. Okay. In addition to it being determined towards wealth, it's like what we call emphasis. Certain things are repeated the same way means it more likely will happen. So it's very strong, very strong. The other thing, the planet that rules his money, okay, his money is Virgo, is Mercury. And it's sitting in this 11th house. The 11th house is our salary. Because this is the money we make and provide for ourselves. This is the money we make from our job. Okay? So his money also not only comes from other people, but also he can easily get it in his work. It just comes that way.
Also one.
So he can, if he applies for loans and funding, he gets it. If it's a year where his planets are even stronger condition than this, already this is fantastic news to start off with. But you come to a year where all these indicators are strong as well, stronger than this, and it's like, okay, why are you even talking to me? Don't have money problem.
So can I ask a question?
Yeah.
We choose when we're going to be born, right?
Yes, and the place is very good.
Clearly I got it horribly wrong.
But that's what, I mean, in terms of wealth, we have conditions of happiness. Everyone's idea of happiness is different. And in time we find out what it is that makes us happy. With the astrology, instead of taking 10 years to figure it out with experience, we can be given a checklist. Yeah, today.
You need your checklist.
Yeah.
So do you get people that are disappointed when you tell them, well, you know, they don't have these big
No, but I don't tell people that. They come and ask me about the finance and career reading. The finance asker, they say, well, this is where you'll make money. This is where you'll be strong. And these are the avenues through which you will make money and acquire substance and all that.
Wow.
So
It's different for everybody.
So you can change that blueprint to work for you.
Yes.
Because it's
It was
all
just
about
read
your experience. This is just an extreme example just to show you how astrology works. Yeah, it's very, that is here, so that means that. This is that, so this means that. There's nothing, let me open my mind and, you know. Donald Trump will not listen to you if you start with that. Because he's the type of person that he wants to see how you're coming to that conclusion.
Yeah.
And I had clients that want that, and the more you give it to them, the more they stop asking. Because they realize, okay. So Let's just give me an example about how you look for money. That's one thing, like there's other indicators and this and blah blah blah.
I didn't see anything on the chart that explained his hairdo.
Sorry, go back.
He's Leo rising. So he has a shiny, sun-like personality thing going on. But the sun that rules Leo is in Gemini, which is a sterile sign. So you have the balding pattern.
My word. There's even an explanation.
You asked for it. Sorry, can I just ask you though, in all seriousness, when he did lose his money, where's that on that chart?
I don't know, I haven't done that.
So that would have been in that specific year that you would have had to do a review. Oh, okay.
So you said the Gemini sign is sterile.
It means it's non-productive. It doesn't. So when I do like fertility astrology, the signs have a fertility aspect. And fertility and medical astrology. One thing. Yeah. So relationship. Just go back one slide. So with relationships, now that's one person's chart we looked at, Donald Trump, and we just looked at money. Which is money. And you see how you got a lot of information to tell this person that's really practical. There's nothing, kumbaya kind of stuff. When it comes to relationships, there has to be a middle ground. Because, especially when two people are sitting in front of me, I don't want to be
I'm sure be in the middle.
I don't want to be in the middle. I'm translating one person's language for the other person, keeping in mind their chart, so I'm speaking in a way that they can understand the message, and vice versa. Okay? Because no, it's me speaking through my lens, as I'm the astrologer, listen to me. When the people leave, they're like, oh, the astrologer said you must do this. I don't want that. That's not helping them. And it's not helping me get them back to clients. So with the relationship you can go on. You took your chart, male, female, they're married now, it's nice, they have a child. And I'll take you through their fertility, which I did for them. But the one thing that stood out for me from them was this part called the 9th house. And it's very strong to both of them. So firstly, they have a water-fire signature. The water-fire signature in this part of the chart. The ruler of this 9th house is the moon, which is in the house. The ruler of this 9th house, the ruler of the sign Sagittarius, is the planet Jupiter, which is in the house. So it's like if you're at home and you own the house, you are completely in control of what happens. Whatever you want happens. Whatever you say goes most of the time. Right? Depends on other people that you're living with in the house. You can think of astrology like life, because it's literally representing life. So in this chart, he's got Moon with the North Node here in his 9th house. It's a very strong need for him to be educated and learned and acquire as much knowledge as possible. He's got 3 university degrees. He loves to travel, which is also a 9th house implication. And how does she receive it? Jupiter, Sagittarius, Uranus. It's sudden and it's great, it's expansive for me. I love it. It's going past my boundaries of my horizons. It's expanding my life in that way. Through activity, it's pious. So they connect very nicely. And she's an Aries rising, so she's okay with sudden change. We're talking about a temperament type. She's okay with, oh, let's change something, let's change, make it better. I'm all for that. If she was a Taurus rising, for example, she'd be like, oh, I'm too comfortable, I don't want to live now. I'm not really sure, where are we going to stay, what streets, what the neighbors like, you know, that kind of thing first before she even says, okay, here's the curse. You know? But, I mean, you talk about also the opposite house, which is their local space and their siblings and the neighborhood, but also how they speak. They both have Venus in the 3rd house. They both have the planet Venus here. they both have the planet Venus, which is to do about beauty and harmony, in the house of their words. They cannot shut up and talk to each other. If you listen to them talk, it's like, yeah, don't stop, carry on talking. Yeah? It also means in terms of sexuality, talking turns them on. Right? It's what they need as part of the act. Because Venus is what attracts us. What's the right? They both have trouble in the house of money. So in some sense, it's a sore point to both of them. He earns a lot of money. He has really good planets in his house of salary, but what he does with it is not really clear. It's like, I have the money, I make so much money, what happened to it? Well, you don't know. There's Neptune here sitting, which makes things very dilute. Yeah, it's like money comes, money goes. But it goes where? It goes on his socializing. It's Jupiter 11th house. Well, dude, you know, I know you want to be part of many, many organizations because you're so learned, but you're wasting your money.
It's amazing.
So, I mean, this is just, and you talked about them about their money, and like with Mars in Taurus is that slow release of energy. Because Taurus is it's the most grounded earth sign. So Mars in Taurus, especially in terms of money, impulsive, yes, it builds up. Think about the earth, it builds up and then explodes. That's what Mars in Taurus is like. So I said, well, you know, if you want something, don't think about it before buying it. Say that you want it and write it down. Because if you just keep it inside, it's going to build up and manifest even stronger when it comes out than if you let it out in small pieces. And that changed how money worked for her completely.
Sure.
It's just understanding how the energy works in the area of your finances.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Basically, the chart works is so the inside stays the same because it represents the different houses. Is that right? And then based on your warning, within the outside colors and how.
Okay, so these are the signs, right?
So then that changes on the outside based on.
The houses, everything changes with time. Every 4 minutes, this moves a degree. This is the horizon line at the time you're born. This is where the sun was rising. It's called the rising sign. It is what defines the rest of the chart. This is that relativity thing. I am here, I'm standing here at the time I'm born. And from this perspective, everything else has meaning. So even though the sun sign is Pisces, so the sun sign is Pisces, that has something to do with basic drives. The moon sign is Leo, that has something to do with their emotionality. What energy they have to go after their sun things in life, which is different for everybody. But they're walking the path of the rising sign in life, which is so you have, I want to do that, this is how I tend to go after doing that, and the energy I have available to go after and do it. And I'm learning this journey of Scorpio. But we're talking about all of that. But the chart moves, the houses, the lens change, yeah, and the planetary speeds. But the second thing I want to see, well, all her learning was that, because this is her 9th house, her house of learning and education. What does it matter to him? It's his house of money. He is paying for her tuition at her studies. That's how two charts are interacting. Her house of learning is his house of money, so he's providing the money to her. It's that. Simple. The next one. We look at his 9th house. Well, what's happening with his 9th house? Well, it's her 5th house. 5th house is about our hobbies, our enjoyment, our pleasures, our personal pleasures in life. It's also affairs and those risky things. But so interestingly, they had an arranged marriage, internationally set up by their parents. So he encountered his love in a foreign place, with what it means, travel aspect, the ninth house travel aspect. But also, it's for me to say to them, well, when you travel, you both enjoy it. Because if she's happy, you are happy, right? That's how it usually tends to go. So she's having fun, and you're traveling, that's great. She really has an interest in the things you're knowledgeable about, things that you studied at university. She loves that about you. You know, this is, I mean, without the chart, and I'm telling you this, people start clicking, yes, that's exactly what it's like. It's the language of life. So fertility, I'm going to use the same couple as an example. So the same thing, we look at indicators again. When they're strong, when they're weak, when they're happening. And now I'm going to give you an example of the year when it happened, to show you. So I did this prediction for them in 2011, and their child was born in 2014. So it worked. They were having fertility problems. The ruler of his house of children is conjunct Saturn in this non-reproductive sign of Libra. Both conditions of restraint and conviction. So his impotence is a contributing factor. Sperm count is low. Jupiter represents the sperm medically in astrology. It's low. It's limited. So I indicated to him, go speak to the doctor about the sperm count. You're getting tested, understand the trends, especially when the moon is in these phases, blah, blah, blah. And he had some results that helped him in terms of his nutrition and diet and lifestyle. For her, the ruler of her fifth house is the moon, which is great because you want the moon to indicate children. It is the moon, especially for a female. But it's also very strong. It's very strong. Moon in the seventh house, people have a lot of relationships. They want it. It's a need for them. It's an emotional fulfillment for safety and comfort. So they may have too many, but I mean, egg is rising, fifth house, fun, games, all that stuff. Yes, but she got to a point where her sun needs were not being met. I'm not being productive in my life. I don't have financial security. That's the primary need for this person, which is the sun. Right? She may approach life very naively, sort of the Aries. But this is the arriving factor, always in the back of someone's mind. And it's very strong. So in terms of just the ruler of the children, and there are 7 rulers for each house. I'm just talking about it. Right? For this one, you can see, well, he's got the problems. She doesn't have the problems. Okay? So I'm going to focus on his chart. When this Jupiter is stronger and unafflicted, then the likelihood of conception for her is very high. They both have water on the 5th house, which is fertile. All the water signs are fertile. So the potential is there to have many children in the month. Okay, but his Jupiter situation is not so good. Jupiter also being a natural supplicator of children. So yeah. Okay? Yeah. The other condition is I want to look at. So 2013, so when I was looking at this stuff, I said, well, you know, 2014 you have twins in March, so you have a girl or single child in June. And this was 2011. Because I looked at the charts in 2013 and 2014, when I do the year analysis, I look at 3 years at a time to understand how the energy is flowing between the years. Right? So this is her natal chart. I mean, this is the year chart for 2013. The one thing I want to, there's a hierarchy, like we said, the pattern filters down. So, for example, on September 11, 2001, everyone that died that day didn't show in the chart's death. Because the chart of the USA superseded the individual person. There was crap hitting the fan in the chart of the USA around that time. So the chart of the country, or the community you're born in, happens at a higher level than your individual will. That's what your chart represents. Yeah.
Can I ask, how do you determine the country's chart? Do you look at the
founding date? Or?
It's usually the time when the flag changes, the symbol of the country changes, independence, all those kind of things come in. But interesting with the South African chart, we look at them, the chart of union still applies, even though we have the 27th of April 1994 chart as well. So I look at both of them.
You tell us what's going to happen in this country. But it's also when they sign the
no, it's when it's signed, but it's more so when it's declared.
Yes.
So in our modern day terms, it's more when the media reports. Usually nowadays, because people don't elect a time to announce the state of the country, which would be completely amazing to do, which is better for the country. People don't do that. They purposely announce it. Set at midnight. When the sun is down here in the dark. So it implies the light is down in the dark because this is the horizon. You can't see the sun. So the time change at midnight. The sun is below the horizon. The leadership of the country is naturally, purposely driven towards land and property. Who owns it? That's how most countries are set up nowadays. But the chart reflects that. The astrology follows life, not the other way around. Okay. So what I want to say here was, yes. So this is her birth chart. You see, remember the 5th house, and the moon was very strong for that. In this year, the 5th house is the thing that's important. It's now the rising sign of her year. So her birth chart promise is now modified in this year to say, now this matter is becoming important. Look into it. It brings it to my attention, right? This is where the light is coming in the door. Right. So, okay, what's happening with this? Well, the moon again is in a strong place because it's at the angles, it's red lines, indicate places of strength in the chart. In the birth chart, it's strong. In the year chart, it's strong. So for me it was, okay, if you want to conceive, this is the year to conceive.
Sure.
Right. And it's even in the same sign, Libra. It's a murder. We talk about emphasis and sympathy, exchange of energies. This is what I'm looking at. Right? Next chart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if a couple's battled, like say for 10 years, she hasn't managed to fall pregnant, then all of a sudden it just happens. Is that just, it's literally for things sort of waiting to align and fall into place?
Yeah. But a lot of times people that don't have the knowledge on how to change their lifestyle ahead of time, then they naturally have to wait for everything to come and meet. Because here I said to her, go back, I said to him, Chiki conceived this year. So I said to him in 2011, in 2012, you're going to sort your lifestyle, you're going to sort your diet out, speak to medical professionals about your sperm count, how to get it up. Because you can aid the process. The timing is there, but if you don't use the opportunity, it will be process. Right? So astrology gives you that foreknowledge, even medically in those things.
So did they have the kid? Because it says 2013 there.
Coming back.
Disconnected.
Don't jump the story!
I'm flicking on the back of the book.
I wish there was an index page for that. Okay, so this is her natal chart. Again, we talked about the moon, the house of children, Cancer. Now, this is her chart for 2014. You see that Libra, where the moon was in the previous year, is now important. It's manifesting. But this first house is her body. So what was happening with the moon in the previous year is manifesting in her body. Right? The ruler of this Libra sign is Venus. And Venus is sitting here in the house of illness. Okay, so she's healed. In normal everyday terms, she's accommodating some form of incapacity in the body. What is it due to? Pisces. Pisces. Where is Pisces in his chart? Children.
My word. Wow.
So you see the unity of it, showing that she is incapacitated with a woman kind of issue, Venus. And it impacts him in the house of children. It's bringing that signification into her life. The children, right? The other thing, okay, remember Jupiter needs to be strong. Her house of children is Cancer. Okay. In the year, Jupiter itself is in the sign of Cancer. It's very strong. And for him, remember, Jupiter had to be strong. So it was a confluence of all these factors where I said 2014, and I did some stuff to get the months. That's very child.
Was it 1 or 2?
They had one child in June. He phoned me last and was like, yeah, guess what?
Was it a girl?
Yeah, it was a girl. Because of all the Venus and the female signs that are going on, right? It's very strong. Okay. But that's how fertility is basically.
Can I just ask you something? I mean, I've got a few friends who are unable to fall pregnant, so can this work every time? Can't possibly work every time.
See, it's like when you go to a doctor and there's a malpractice. You don't say medicine on its own is one fact. That doctor. I would say I'm right 70%.
So then from friends for you then.
Yeah. Does cesarean births affect this?
Sorry?
Cesarean.
Yes, I've had some surgery with cesarean sections, and I was thinking of putting that example in here. But it doesn't matter, it's just the child is coming into the person's life. If the manner of how it comes in, there will be a lot of Mars energy going on there, which indicates the process to cutting blood, more than usual. So it indicates surgery type profile, which will houses.
Does cesarean affect a child?
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
It would indicate in the chart, obviously.
What do you mean affect the child?
If it was brought into the world before it was...
Cesareans are usually 2 weeks before full term.
If you go back 2 slides, I had a case where it was in vitro. And this lady had Uranus sitting in the 5th house. Uranus is all those modern methods and the new technology stuff. Sitting in her 5th house, she was unable to conceive. I said to her, well, you need to try a new technology. You need intervention of medical new stuff. Because you're aligning yourself for that energy. To say, children happens if it's like the mechanical, new technology assist. Because Uranus, the planet Uranus, was sitting on the 5th house. So it describes the requirements. And when you align your life with that,
no, I just thought it might affect, if you were meant to born on the 19th of June and you go and have an induction and it's born.
I wasn't
a week earlier, it might, does that affect your child?
That's also meant to be.
It's meant to be. It's meant to be.
You allow the child to happen.
I had a grandpa, the client, who was like, my daughter is in labor, and you can reduce the labor, get faster or something, give her something. Like, he wants me to now choose a time so they can calculate the drawn amount. So I'm like, honey, baby, I'm not trying to do that. I'm sorry, because you have to be, no matter what you do, that child will be born with and I don't want that karma also on my head.
But even induction doesn't always work. The child does. When I had my first child, I was induced. There were 3 of us, and they said the woman who had the baby 2 years ago, she'll go first. The one who had a 6-year-old goes second, and I had my first child, I'll go last. The second lady went home eventually. It was really big, because the first one came and I was the second, like 6 hours later, and the other lady eventually went home. So the child wasn't ready to come.
It's been ready. In the medieval period, the Arabic astrologers developed conceptual astrology in terms of have sex now, because they'll calculate the gestation period to say, well, you want to have a child before the next war comes, so you have the heir to the throne. So So you can have sex like this month with this person. That's why those kings had harems, because they had to choose the right other charts.
That's interesting.
Henry would have driven them crazy.
The old-fashioned way of designer babies.
Okay. Did I skip something? Oh no, I'm done with that. Travel. People are in trouble. Now what we do is we take your chart and we superimpose it on the globe of the world. So we understand now spatially. We've been talking about time. Now we're talking about space. So its consciousness is aware in moment of time and space. So it's relevant also in space. No matter where you travel, your birth chart energy goes with you. But where you travel, because of how things are changing and moving, certain things are emphasized, certain things are de-emphasized. So you'll have, like, my experience of Britain was fantastic. Someone hated them completely. There are robberies, there are all these things happen. Even the same places I will live. You know, this is a weird experience. So I'm taking his chart again, and he's the CEO of our company. And so we're talking about foreign investment. Look at the 9th house and 2nd house as well. But 9th house, very strong. Okay, acquisitive 9th house events. So I want to see where this moon is on the map of the world. This person. Go next slide. Because that's going to show me where he's traveling most. Where he has a mission to travel, because the north node is that fatally you have to go if you do this. So when he said to me, this is this moon line, it goes to other countries, but the astrology told us that. He went to Kazakhstan, and at that time in 2011, he was like, I'm thinking of this venture. I need to go either Houston or Kazakhstan. Now, normally someone would say, stay away from the Middle East, whatever you want. But it was so strong in his chart, I knew that he had to go there. No matter what I felt to believe, it's his life. So I said to him, yes, are you doing teaching there? Because it's a 9th house kind of vibe. And he said, yes, they offered me a position to go and teach them a variety of courses over 2 years. And I said, you can do it, because it's what you're going to do. Yes. You know, it removes that self-doubt that comes in. So many options, you don't know which option actually reflects you. And now you know, well, option 2 and 3 reflects me, but option 2 fits me better this time. Right? So you're going to do it. And next slide. His office space sits directly, go back, sorry, sits directly on this line. His office, the building, the town, sits on this line.
The one in Kazakhstan.
Yes.
Talk about allowing life to happen.
And this is because I rectified his birth time. So I spent about 3 hours with a new client talking about the testing of the symptoms to check that I'm happy with the birth time. Because this is very sensitive to birth time.
What if you don't have your birth time?
If it's within 6 hours, I can rectify and find one. Like if you know in the morning, in the evening, in the night. If you don't know that, it's not possible, because there are 4 possible times in the day that will satisfy all the events in the life. Okay, so next slide. Along this line is something called params, and these are not really nice ones. They're very combative energy-wise, especially with this moon being affected along this line. Fitting well. Over here, the 3 nice ones, Venus and the moon, you know, Pluto, and I think this is Uranus, and remember his Uranus was good Nadia. So I'm like, well, I asked him, where are you working? Well, he's got an oil field over here that I'm managing. But his office space is here. And he said, well, we don't get along with people in the office at all, especially the woman. He's like, yes, the lady I work with is this old hag, and I really just want to, you know, she's so stubborn. Even though I'm knowledgeable and know what I'm talking about, she just doesn't want to listen. But I said, the people that you work with on the field, it's like you are the expert and listen to everything you say. He said, yes, he loves going out to the field. Talk about Venus and Venus in the moon. You love what you're doing. That's the energy, because the soul's intent to manifest at that point on the globe, even has consequences everywhere else. You can't make this up. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not something you divine. It's like the universe is saying, these are the lines, this is what's going to happen, this is the potential. It's physically there in space. It's relevant to the positions that happen. Reflecting down. Okay?
You need a drink, honey.
It's already worked out for you.
So, I mean, my friend from New Zealand, he had business relations with people on the eastern seaboard of the US. And it wasn't working out in Florida, but looking at his chart, I knew Georgia would be a hit in terms of money. So I said, go and advertise in Georgia. He met a girl who he was dating. That's the way he is.
Nothing else happened.
Yeah. And she ran the whole show. He didn't move from his house for 2 years. Okay. But you see, you just gotta know that. You just gotta know if I go up one state, it will be so different. And I'm showing you the relevance of astrology in real practical things. Besides the self-awareness. Okay, next slide. Health. This was one that stood out to me because it was quite harrowing. At the time, the urgency of it was, I need to know history. Okay, this lady in Johannesburg. This is a sick boy. This is the last. It's the last thing. But we need to go.
Maybe we can take a 5 minutes.
Yeah, okay.
Take a break.
No, I don't think they want to miss anything.
No, we don't.
I don't want to miss it.
We don't want to
I mean,
If I have chocolate for me, does it show for my kids as well, or is it literally just for me based on my experience of children? My experience of children.
Ah.
So if I wanted their charts done, I would give you their dates of birth, etc.
But that's your experience with it.
You see, when you do this history for parent-child, you see those energies like Saturn and Jupiter, they are the teaching energies. If a child is more aligned with the Saturn energy of the parent, in terms of the same sign, that child is just a parent of Christ. But always trying to be the other one. So you see, I'll help the parent understand, the couple understand, listen to you. If you want to teach them something, he must be the one to pass it that way, in this way, according to what sign it is, so that the child can understand and receive. Because with their example, the previous couple, I said to them, the child has a lot of water in their chart. And I said to them, it's not about what you say, it's about how you say it. So change the inflection of your voice. That matters a lot to strong water people. I said, if you have arguments in the home space, they really absorb. Don't argue at all in the end. Because even though they don't understand what's being said, they absorb.
You feel the frequency.
And the thing is, the first year of any child's life is the most important because it's the first 12 months of a person's year. And that 12-year cycle repeats for the rest of their life. So you as a parent, in the first 12 months of a child's year, put the most positive vibration into that person's space. Give them the best and most good. Like with her, while she was pregnant, I suggested to her do some chanting according to her children's stuff. And the child is so intelligent. The child just, speaking names, the child's what, born in 2014. Because the mother had the responsibility of setting in the matter, those vibrations. Okay, so everyone back. This is the last. Yeah? Okay. This is the last thing I want to show you because health is something that people talk about. People ask for. you go to doctors with a lot of faith, and they're also working on what they know. So trust in them, but there are other options out there. And sometimes you don't pick up things unless you have a different objective opinion or a second opinion, for example. So when this lady called me at night and she was crying on the phone, it's like, you know, my daughter just gave birth and it's been a day and the child is in ICU. What is going on, because the doctors are just testing, pricking, probing this poor child who's on machines. So the urgency was, okay, let's look at this. So give me the birth time. Now because it's the first year of life, the birth chart is the year. So I can read events for the month of the year and things from this chart. That's what I'm saying, the first year of life is the most important for. Because when it comes to this time, you as a parent, if you understand what's going on with these planets, can help choose how to manifest that for the child, provide a different way of manifesting this energy. Instead of being slapped around and hit about, you show them a constructive means of using it. Because that will keep abusive behavior every time this thing is emphasized in life. Okay, so anyway, illness, 6,000, okay. First of all, okay, so the symptom was that the baby is very yellow in the face, the jaundice setting, and they're not sure, it's not absorbing nutrition at all, it's not eating, it's not nutritive. And I noticed the moon was in the house of illness. And that's an indicator of nutrition disease. And it's in Scorpio, which is a sign the moon does not do well at all in terms of ability to provide it. The moon is like a battery in the chart. How much charge it is to provide energy for the person to use. And it's very low here. So you can understand why it's not taking in nutrition. But not taking in nutrition in the gut, which is Scorpio. The colon, the sign, showing you where in the body, right? In addition, there's Saturn sitting there. So there's an obstruction to do with the walls of the colon. There's a blockage. Now the doctor was saying, and well, Scorpio is ruled by Mars. The illness is a Scorpio illness in the area of the body. What is happening with it is Mars. It's an air sign, it's a movable air sign of Libra. It's a sanguine sign to do with the blood. Okay, moving things in the body. There's an overactive element that's in the blood. That's the cause of illness. Okay. And speaking to her, yes, there's this hormone called bilirubin that is of the nature of Mars. You can look at medical textbooks. It's of the nature of Mars, in any case. And it's the one that doesn't get absorbed because the liver is supposed to secrete with bile or something in the digestive tract, but then responsible for the absorption of this. That wasn't happening. But that's what they thought. So the doctor said the liver is not working properly. We need to put you on a list for liver transplant. This kid is a day old. And how is a parent going to wait and go through that trauma? And I looked at Jupiter and stuff, because Jupiter signifies the liver. And it's in fantastic condition. Yeah, I mean, the liver is, I mean, it's very strong, so it's overworking, right? Which makes sense, because the liver is just trying to do its job. There's nothing wrong with it, it's just responding to the feedback that's in the blood. So I said to her, there's nothing wrong with the child's liver. In my opinion, Jupiter is not harmed in any way. Yes, oh sorry, go down. I think I had slides. Yes, so I was talking about that, yeah. Now Jupiter is at something called the bendings. It's
what? Jupiter's got something called
it's situated at a place called the bendings.
And the bendings.
So it's in hard aspect to the nodal fate axis. So it's almost as if the liver is supposed to be removed. This is a fatal thing. This event is happening. It is triggered. Okay? Now I'm saying there's nothing wrong with the liver. There's nothing wrong with the liver. Like, don't. It's fine. It's just reacting the way it should to the excess of blood. Yes, it's overactive, but that's what it needs to be. It's actually very healthy because it's doing its job. The problem is, this is not being absorbed in the gut, in the colon. Take some stool samples, see what's going on, and monitor that. And it was like, oh yes, that's a rare case of blah, 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 blah. You know, and she can call me back in a week's time so the baby's recovered. It's eating properly, and it's fine. Wow. This is one extreme example.
They just take its liver away.
It was fine. The liver was fine. But it showed me, one, there's something to this. Number two, it's crazy. Imagine what people do to their kids.
Or to themselves.
Or to themselves, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was very strong.
Questions, right?
It was very strong to remove this liver because it's at the limit, it has to come out.
Wow.
That was the impulse at that time. And people were responding to it, people were believing it. So that's what this is saying. It's so strong. It's so strong. It's emphasized. Yeah. And the liver is the focus. The liver is the focus. But for the wrong reason. The reason is actually this here. Okay, next slide.
Sorry, guys. I wanted to still ask a question on that. Yeah. Okay, so the first year is what kind of lays down the groundwork for everything. Yeah. So if a baby's born who's got health issues and has, which I'm talking about from my son who had an operation when he was 6 months old. Mm. So he had problems for the first 6 months of his life. But now does that mean that carries on for your...
It repeats. It will cycle up again.
Okay.
The other thing was it shows the timing of them going to ICU. Mars is at 11 degrees, and it's got a hard aspect to Pluto here in the space of surgery. A class is also, because it's also death, but in medical astrology it's surgery. Pluto sitting here means that it's a major surgery. It's a major life-threatening surgery. And it's in square aspects, in difficult aspects, with the illness. Both are malefic planets. That's not good. Mars is 11 degrees at the time of birth, right? Pluto's at 12 degrees. The baby was admitted to ICU 1 day after it shows the timing as well. So you can follow the chart and look at the timing of the movement. So I said, okay, after the 3rd week, the baby will be fine.
So if they'd taken the liver out, it was more
it
likely the baby would have died.
It would have been fatal because it's not causing this house.
It would have been fatal.
Yeah, supposing the second house where it's a hard ability to provide for ourselves, nutritive second house, how we eat, also positively in the body. It's opposing that.
The first house is also the body, and the sun is in that as well, so the body would have been finished.
The vitality is very strong in this child. Yes, because the sun is very strong. So that's basically giving you some practical examples as to how astrology has relevance.
Can I just add something on that medical thing? That's also, if you go to surgery, a friend of mine is she was a chair lady of the Astrology Society in Joburg, and one of the things was her friend's friend had to go in for an operation. And she was second on the list. And she was first on the list. And then the doctor, there was some delay for the surgery to take place. The doctor was off somewhere. And she said, I can't wait, all the time. I need to have this operation because I've got to get on to whatever. It was not a big deal.
Time sensitive.
So she phoned Ellen and she said, listen, this is the story. They're changing the time. Because she looked at the time for the operation. Exactly. What's the story? Because they look at where's the moon. And especially with Mars and all the malefics. And Eleanor said to her, don't go. Get out, don't wait because it's changing and it's not a good time. So the woman that was after her said, I don't mind, I'll go. Okay, she'll go into the next slot. That woman actually got extremely sick. There was so many complications because that, and she was like, so just so amazing.
It does. is. And for your information, with the medical astrology, you can phone and ask a question, what is wrong with me? Okay, and at the time I receive the question, I cast a chart. Your question is conceived in your mind, and I give it birth, and I ask it. Right? So the question itself, you look at my website, there's some examples of where's my friend's wife, I don't know. Stupid questions like that. Don't ask the astrology. Giving in the house where the dongle is. You know?
Sure. I read it. I just read your blog and that popped up and I was sitting here reading while they were taking a break and I was amazed at the story about the dongle. It was really
the question has to be a need, and I needed it because we were launching the website. And ESCOM was having a wonderful day on us. Yeah. So I was kind of peeved off. But yeah, so with the medical astrology, you can ask a question, what's wrong with me? That's very general. If you have a time of surgery, you can check that. You can actually tell what's happening in the procedure. You do all court cases the same way. You know what the procedure is going to be. We'll ask the Pistorius. If you didn't have a female judge, you would have been dead. Because the Venus in his chart is completely giving him everything in his 9th house of law.
Say that again, sorry?
If he had a male judge, he would have been convicted. If he had a female judge, the female was giving him everything in his chart.
So Angie was completely just working for him.
But you could actually feel the energy with him as well.
It's very the Venus Scorpio underhanded thing going on. Anyway, so if someone falls ill, the time to give me is the time they stop going to work. They can't do their normal daily functions. You know, that time or that day, the kids maybe. If someone has a stroke, the time for that. Those kind of things, you know, the time is important.
It's very interesting because my one son was 4 weeks pregnant. And he then later in life, at the age of 5, had an accident that caused him to have epilepsy. It would be interesting to have done this then. Yes. And the other one was born with 4 holes in his heart. And he literally didn't want to come out. So he was hanging onto his organs and they were pulling him. So he was not ready to come out, but it was his birthday. He was not coming. For no love of money. So what happened? Well, I went into house arrest and they decided to pull him like forcibly out.
With the medieval techniques, that would have been a birth that kills both the mother and child. You know, but the advance in medical science, thankfully, has been able to. I know of a case, a child where the chart was saying this child dies, you know, like a true death kind of situation. But they sustain the child on the machine. But the quality of life is
very low.
Very low, because the soul's not meant to artificially extending life, but they're not really living. So, simple business tips. This is just a few things because of time. I can give you. If your business, the date or time that you registered the business is the birth chart of your business.
If you registered it.
Yes.
So if you don't register.
No. If you launch the website or the first day you open your doors to the public.
So if you can't make up your mind what you're doing and you're living in Darling, so now it's crystal light. So where's the first what?
Once the public knows about it.
Yeah, I keep telling a different story because I haven't made up my mind.
Sorry, I understand the question.
Yeah, no, so I obviously can't decide when the first is because I keep saying Balsa Class don't do social media and I think it's content marketing. Well, so maybe after I see you,
then you're going to see him.
Then it's
I would say it's the other way around.
Go see him first.
There's also a reason why you have this.
A journey towards it.
It's just a journey.
You will know what to want.
So, so that's how you handle your business.
I actually registered, but that is when I go into the office and put the registration form in, or when they give it back to me.
When it's actually confirmed. Do you have the date?
I have a number.
Because it's like a chart for the marriage. You know, when they sign the marriage thing, that's a chart of the marriage. So when you do relationship astrology, you look at both their charts and their astrology, but you also look at the chart of the marriage, because it gives you some extra detail. The other thing we do is that we combine both of their birth charts into a combined chart of the relationship itself as a living thing. Okay. So you have 4 charts to look at to start off with when you do relationship astrology. With the business case, remember there's a hierarchy of chart. You cannot override something in your birth chart. Just like how your birth chart cannot override something happening in the country. Like the fights that you have.
So can you just go backwards one step?
Yeah.
Business. I know the day that my business started, but it was registered at a different time. The CC was registered. So which date would I give you?
Give me all of them. And then I'll see which one actually fits your business.
Fine.
You can ask for that.
No, I just I need to give it to him. Didn't register my business, but like then would just say the day that I
started off.
Chose my company name, registered my website.
Yes.
Take from that.
Yes.
Okay. Even if the website wasn't live yet?
No, when you put it live.
When
you
I
must
put it
have
live.
the feedback from the universe. So it must be out there.
Okay.
Because otherwise it's still,
Then it's just sitting there.
it's still birthing, so to speak. It's still pregnant. So basically these are 3 things that you can keep in mind. These Mercury retrograde cycles, when Mercury goes retrograde with respect to it's slowing down, and it's kind of going backwards, and then it slows down, and then comes back and moves forward and carries on again. Okay? That's called a retrograde cycle. All the planets have it, and they mean something different for each other. Mercury's retrograde cycle has to do with communication, technology, media, deliveries, orders, suppliers, demand. All this Mercury has to do with trade. It also has to do with communication and media. So all of that tends to hit the fan during this period if it's something new. So don't sign a new contract. Don't launch anything new in terms of speaking, doing, getting orders. You may find during these times that orders tend to just be very low, or they get mixed up, or there's some delay, you have to redo things over and over again. There's a struggle in this energy to get the communication out. And it's actually valid for like I think 2 weeks before and 2 weeks after each of these, actually.
Also appointments, especially important appointments.
Yes.
They either won't happen or the promise will be broken.
Yeah. The fine print, you just kind of miss it.
I actually find that in that time, computer glitches are prolific.
My hard drive crashed during it.
So you find like, especially for businesses that are in IT, you can imagine the chaos. So if your business has anything to do with IT, communication, deliveries, this is important to keep note of in your business, because business will be low. The perception of your clients will be, you're fucking up tonight. Right?
I'm going to book any tickets on those days.
Right. You can't blame the planet and say, oh, I killed someone because Mars made me do it. You know that this is how you do smart business. You be smart about, be proactive. Before this time comes, make sure you have, I don't know, surety on deliveries, or you, I don't know what you do as a business.
Why is that we only tend to focus on Mercury retrograde? I take it that the other planets also extremely
Yes.
but somehow other...
The Venus cycle has to do with how we interpret love. And what we love. The things we love change over time. Right? The moon cycles, moon doesn't go retrograde. But moon phases are important for like productivity and fertility and those kind of things, even for men. The Jupiter cycles has to do with our development. The Saturn cycles are to do with a God finger pointing at you, saying, this is not who you are, get back. You know, that's the Saturn cycles. The Mars cycles, they're very erratic. I haven't seen it work so much, except for like the medical astrology, people that have the electric nervous type disorders. The Mars cycle can show something about the evolution of that disease, especially when it's conjunct with Mercury in South Australia. But the Mercury cycle, because it's how we communicate in our space, our thoughts in our space, but it's also the thoughts between our thoughts, and it's the things between the things. That's Mercury. So trade, business, exchange, thinking, intellect, reasoning, but also communication. All the sciences between thinking and things. It's how how we connect in our space. It rules the approach to deal with space.
My dad is thinking in April and not May.
The other thing is...
Even next week is starting before the week.
So if you're scheduling events, don't schedule them 3 days before or after full moon or a new moon, because people just end up being too busy, they don't have time to come. Well, or people just not feeling it.
No wonder the mysticness is on low. What is it called?
It happens that way. People, I mean, this is how it actually, because I've tested this, how it actually...
3 days before and 3 days after.
So we're going to have 2 days.
We're going to have 2 days.
Look at our schedule.
Yes. And then I don't understand the moon and earth.
No, I'm into that now.
Get into it.
You must have very strong cardinals somewhere in your chart. It's fine, I get you. Moon in earth signs, you're talking about business, talking about earth signs. Okay. All the other signs has something to do with your business, which I'm not going to go into now. This is just to give you some ideas, start thinking. If the moon is in Taurus, and my website has ephemeris, where you go to any astrology website, they should have the signs and planets at the top, scrolling around somewhere. The moon is in blah 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 for the next so many days. When the moon is in Taurus, it's good for socializing and networking in a comfortable environment. Get your investors, make them feel at home, talk to them, give them food, Taurus is the cow, right? The bull, grazing the field. The lion for that. It means, pet them, Virgo. It's also people need to push. Virgo, good for communication and major meetings or presentations. I had my second job interview when I found out the moon was in Virgo, and completely meetings. All the way was work. I gave them detail, and detail, and detail, and steps and processes, and they just loved it. Because that's, you're aligning yourself with the moon, which is how people around you are feeling, what their attitudes are like. It changes specifically for each person, but in general, that's the moon. Like right now, the moon is in Libra. I know I have to speak to you and make eye contact, and I'm communicating. That's what Libra is about. It's about a platform for sharing ideas and convincing people about your point of view. So I know all of you right now are convinced.
Yes.
Is this for personal as well as business?
Yes, yes, yeah. It's life.
When's the moon in Virgo again?
I had to check on.
Where is it right now?
In Libra.
That's horrible convinced.
It's also my 7th house, so I'm engaging with them very strongly. Capricorn, good for arguments. Fight it out. Let's get these ideas out and just start doing things. Prioritizing, proving a point, and major goal setting. So if you want to, it's not good for the convincing, lovey-dovey, feel comfortable. It's more about now we're doing. I have the work program, now we're going to launch this project. And everyone's feeling like, yes, I want to do it for the most part, more than usual. And I think that's that. So the last slide, that's what we talked about. Astrology for today, right? I hope you got that now. It's not just a sun sign, it's not just once in a blue moon to know about myself, some deeper cryptic language. What is astrology? How does it work? How is it relevant to me? And the last slide. Thank you.
Thank you.